Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Cathy Subber. I am a local chiropractor in the Naperville area. I run the Branch Moms community, and I host a podcast called Socket Plug Into You. I'm going to start off talking about confidence. It's a topic that I talk about all the time on my podcast, and it's just so near and dear to my heart because I've kind of had to crawl my way along the years and through the decades to find my own confidence, my own authentic self. So if you go back, you take me back to my growing up years, when I was younger, when I was a little girl, I had a really nice childhood. I grew up in New Jersey, which in a town similar to a Naperville-like area. And I had loving parents. I had a nice sister, although we did fight every once in a while. But anyway, I didn't really want for anything. I did a lot of sports. I had a great education. I felt loved. But somehow I determined that I wasn't very likable. I determined that I wasn't enough. I determined that I didn't really fit in. And as I look back in my life, I don't really remember anyone saying anything specifically to me. Somehow I decided that I was going to be my own personal bully in my own head. And I just felt like I didn't fit in. I felt as if everyone around me had their act together. Everyone around me had this great friendship circle, which I'm sure was not the case. I felt like the only person, especially in high school, the only person that didn't have this core group of friends. Anyway, in my later high school years, I had two things that happened to me. Number one, I severely hurt my back. I used to be a springboard diver, and I was doing some crazy new dive I learned at a training camp, and I didn't throw it properly, and I got nervous, and instead of landing vertical, I landed flat on my back. That eventually led me to chiropractic care as the solution, which eventually led me to becoming a chiropractor. So I would never go back and undo it because it really created the life I have now. So I'm happy that that happened. But the second thing that happened is my mom left our family when I was 17. So I'm 18 years old. I have a debilitating back injury. I finally find chiropractic care, and I decide that I'm going to be a chiropractor. And when I'm 21, I move 1,000 miles away to Davenport, Iowa to go to Palmer College of Chiropractic. And so I'm sitting in this auditorium. There's 300 people there. And I look around and I think, no one knows who I am. No one knows that I don't have any confidence. No one knows that I'm super shy. No one knows that I don't have any self-esteem. I hate my body. My mom left. No one knows anything about me here. And I had this kind of aha moment. And I thought, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to be this person that I have created for myself. And I have this strange opportunity 1,000 miles away from home to recreate myself. And I can be whoever I want to be. And I know that theme has kind of run through different movies or different books of people recreating themselves. But for me, this felt so revolutionary. Like, I don't have to be who I am. And if I don't do it now, when am I ever going to have this fresh start, this new space that I'm living, this new town I'm living in, these new people I'm being introduced to? So for the next 3 hours of this orientation, I did not listen to one word of, I'm sure, what was amazing advice and great chiropractors that we were listening to. I wasn't paying attention to any of it. I was plotting out the new version of Cathy Subber. Kind of like cell phones. You know how they have to keep upgrading? Like, if you think about the first cell phone you ever got, could you imagine going back to it? I think about mine was like a flip phone that to text, you had to like press the buttons 3 times to get to C or 2 buttons to get to B. It took you 70 minutes to text out a paragraph. I would never go back to that. So I think about my life now, and sitting in that orientation, that was my first version of me. And I didn't like it. I didn't like who she was. I didn't like what I felt inside me. I didn't like the things that I said to myself in my own head. And so I walked into the student union, which everyone was invited to go after the orientation. And I just pretended that I was confident. I literally decided I was going to fake that I was one of the most confident people ever. And I walked up to everyone, I shook their hand, I said, "Hi, I'm Cathy from New Jersey. How are you?" And I kind of worked the crowd. My knees are knocking, my heart is pounding out of my chest. But I did it. And I pushed past that fear and I stepped out of my comfort zone and I decided I was going to make a change, because prior to that, what I was putting out into the world was not bringing a lot of positivity back towards me. What I was putting out to people was not getting a high level person or energetic person to be attracted to want to hang out with me in any way, shape, or form. So I was going to become someone new. I met a couple people at the union right then and got invited to go out to a bar later that night to meet up with everyone. Now, first version of Cathy Subber didn't go to bars. She didn't go out. She didn't have friends to go to bars with. Not that I didn't have friends. I did have friends in my life that were awesome, awesome people. But again, in my own head, I just didn't fit in anywhere. So it really was more of a me problem than a friendship problem. I wish I could go back and know what I know now and realize how powerful those relationships were that I did have in my life. I'm sure I could have made more different decisions. I'm sure I could have created closer bonds with those amazing people. So I'm not trying to say I didn't have friendship in my life. I just didn't know it and I just didn't feel it. So that night I went back and forth in my head, 25 times. Am I going to go? Am I not going to go? Yes, I'm going to go. I have to go. I'm going to be a new person. I need to take this next step. But it was so scary for me. Just the thought of working my way up to getting the confidence again to just walk into a space where I barely knew these people. At the end of the day, and looking back very thankfully, I pushed past what I was feeling and decided to go. I don't remember the bar. I don't remember who was there exactly, but I did meet one girl named Christine. And we decided that we would sit together in class the next day. So the next morning I wake up, I go to my first chiropractic class. I think it was philosophy or no, it was neuroanatomy or something. I don't remember, but I remember the comfort I had going there, knowing I was going to find someone to sit with. So I didn't have to really navigate that. In high school, going into the cafeteria and trying to figure out where the heck I was going to sit was one of the horrors of every day. It sucked not knowing where I fit in. So I meet up with Christine, and she had already connected with two other girls named Amy and Mary. And our names were Mary, Amy, Cathy, Christine, and hers was spelled with a K. And you fast forward a year later, and we were like the social people of our class. People would call me up on a Friday night. I get home to my answering machine, right? I didn't have a cell phone. I had an answering machine to 3, 4, 5 messages of, "Hey, Cathy, you're kind of like the social director of our class. Where's everyone going tonight?" And I remember that one time I came home and I had all those messages and meeting everyone out, and I was kind of helping organizing with my friends. And the next day we walked into class again, and one of our friends, I think Damien, had drawn this little drawing of 4 women inside a Mack truck, and it said Mary, Amy, Cathy, Christine, which was Mack. And it said a force to be reckoned with. And I thought to myself, had I not taken that moment to decide that I was going to literally fake confidence when I didn't have any, if I didn't seize that opportunity, I don't know where I would be today. I honestly don't know. My life wouldn't be what it is. And so I would ask you to think about where in your life do you need to push past fear? Do you need to make that next step? Get out of your comfort zone. Create some confidence for yourself, even if you're not feeling all that confident. Body image and confidence kind of goes a little bit along the lines of what I talked about in the first course with faking confidence and pushing past fear. But for myself, I always struggled with my body image. I've always carried a little extra weight on me when I was growing up, that was muscle weight. That was, I was an athlete weight. And so I remember back when I was 8, 9, 10, somewhere back then, I went to the doctor with my mom for just a regular physical, and I stepped on the scale, which of course is the first thing they do when they do your intake. And the doctor looked at my height, and he looked at my weight, and he looked at my mom, and he said, she weighs too much. She needs to drop about 15 pounds. Now, I was a diver, a gymnast, a swimmer. I probably worked out 2 to 3 hours a day, at least most days. And when I look back at pictures of myself in this time period, I am an athlete. I am rock solid muscle. I don't have an ounce of fat on me, but I always weighed more than my friends, even my athletic friends. I just had a heavier frame, meaning weight frame, not fat frame. I just had a bigger body style. And every time I go to the doctor, they just kept telling me I had to lose this weight. So we get home from the doctor, and my mom, God love her, trying to follow doctor's instructions because doctors are always right, right? Not always. Anyway, created a plan for me to have, I believe it was like an 800-calorie diet. And then even on top of gymnastics or diving or swimming, I did workout videos in our basement. Sometimes I did them twice. And very quickly, I took off these 15 pounds. And I remember being praised really regularly because I'd done such a good job. I was a good girl. I'd lost that weight. And my mom bought me a bunch of new clothes. Everyone that I saw, I mean, I looked thinner, and people tend to equate thinner with better. So I got a lot of accolades from people like, oh, you look amazing. You look great. And in fact, I wasn't okay. My body wasn't okay. I was starving. And this is where my decades long yo-yo dieting career started, was on that scale with a doctor that didn't have enough sense to just look at my body and know that I did not need to lose 15 pounds, that I was an athlete. These days, it seems as if they have figured that out for the most part. Although when I took my son for one of his physicals, he was in high school. Again, not an ounce of fat on him. But my doctor, who I've seen for 10, 15 years, looked at me. They weigh him. And she looks at me. She's like, you're not going to like this. I'm like, what? She goes, I have to mark him down at risk for diabetes. And I looked at her. I go, what are you talking about? She's like, he just weighs more. I guess the Subber, right? We weigh a little more muscle mass. And I said, that's literally ridiculous. She's like, I know, I'm sorry. So at least she was aware that that was ridiculous, just like it was ridiculous for this doctor to say this to my mom. Anyway, I was put on this restrictive diet. I remember eating beets. I remember having to weigh everything, and I hated it. And at the end of the night, when everyone went to bed, I would stay up or come downstairs, and I would find any sugar that was available to me, any carbs. I would eat cereal and ice cream and anything I could find. And I would then hide the wrappers. And if I went to a friend's house, I would raid their cabinets. I would just eat everything in sight because I wasn't allowed to eat this stuff in my own home, and everything was so restrictive. Again, God love my mom. She wasn't trying to be mean about it. She was trying to follow doctor's orders. So at this point, I've gained weight, lost weight as a young girl, right? I would get starving. I'd start eating all this and binging food in the middle of the night because I was hungry. And so little by little by little, I would regain those 15 pounds. I wouldn't be able to fit into any of these clothes that had been bought for me. And I started feeling really deep shame about my body and believing that my body was not okay. My body wasn't okay heavier because everyone told me it wasn't. And those seeds of self-doubt and self-hatred and self-loathing and hating my body got set really early and really strong. And it is something to this day at 47 years old that I still struggle with a little bit. I still think about. I have never been a thin person. I've gone through waves of being healthier. I've tried to reset my mindset into a healthy perspective as opposed to a skinny perspective. And that is a challenging thing to do when you're a woman and you're growing up with magazines and the internet, and, every service is to look thinner, look younger. And the fact is that all of our bodies are so unique and different. We have one, it seems, standard that seems to be, this is what perfection looks like. And if you don't measure up, if you don't look anywhere close to this, then your body's not attractive. You're not sexy. I used to feel disgusting. Like, really, I felt my body was disgusting. And I think about how thin I have gotten in different phases of my life. Before I got married, I was determined that I was going to be at my thinnest. And probably for about a year, I worked out every night after seeing patients for about, I don't know, 2 hours. I barely ate any sugar. I didn't drink any alcohol. And I lost probably 30 pounds. And I was down to a weight that there was no way I was going to be able to stay at this weight. It wasn't realistic for my body. And on the day of my wedding, we got married downtown Chicago. I actually brought my own scale to the hotel the night before my wedding so that I could weigh myself that day. Now, I had weighed myself the day before and the day before and the day before, but somehow I needed that validation from a stupid $25 piece of plastic on the floor in my bathroom. I don't know how I got so tied into believing that this scale was where my worth came from and where my value came from. And if that number did not go well, or did not, I was up 2 pounds because I was getting my period, it would just completely throw me all off. The whole day was lost. So I weighed myself, and it was the lowest I had weighed. And I remember 3 of my friends that hadn't seen me in a while asked me within a month after my wedding if I had anorexia. And, did I dive into that? It's quite possible. I don't believe I was ever diagnosed with it, but I certainly have had an unhealthy relationship with food in many different ways, sometimes too restrictive, sometimes I just want to eat anything I can get my hands on. When I was a teenager, we used to go to a place called Lake George, and we had friends that we went up with every year. And I've said this before, so if you've heard me talk about this before, my apologies, but they actually created a song called Cathy in the Kitchen. And it was all about ice cream screaming and Oreos running. And because when I was allowed to eat, I would eat whatever I could because I wasn't quite sure when I was going to have the opportunity again. If you're struggling with this, I would ask that you find a way to plug yourself into some help. I had a great therapist that helped me. And also, if you are raising girls, think about how you speak about your body. Think about how you speak about yourself in front of your children. Think about how you talk with them about their bodies. I like to tell my girl patients that their bodies are strong and that they're powerful and that they're special and they're magnificent and they're sparkly because they have a sparkly shirt on. I like to focus on some of the other things than body or pretty and things like that. And so I would encourage you to think about those things in your life and see if there are places in your life that you could improve for you or for the little girls around you. Saying no and setting boundaries. Doesn't sound like a very fun topic to talk about, but I think as women, we tend to be always saying yes and maybe putting our needs a little too low on the priority list. Every single thing that someone asks you to do isn't something that you are required to do. And especially as caretakers, many of us feel as if we are supposed to be in service of others. We're helping take care of our partner, husband, spouse. We're helping take care of the kids. We're helping take care of a business. We are in charge of a lot of things. And if we say yes to everything, then our own time is going to be out of control. We're not going to be able to take care of our bodies. We're not going to be able to fit in time for self-care. And so I am a huge advocate for figuring out your basic schedule. What do I need to do? You have to sleep. You have to get some movement in. You need to drink a lot of water. You need to go to work if you have a job, or work from home. You have to take care of your kids, right? There's certain things that you have to do and you have to carve out that time. So what's left is that free time that you get to make the decisions of, what am I going to do with this free time? How am I going to use it up? I used to be one of those people, whether it was in a volunteer role or within a family role, that people would ask me to do something and I would always say yes. I would never say no. I felt too guilty saying no. And so I ended up being overscheduled and exhausted and a little angry about it. um, I never felt like I got to take a breath for myself or have a moment of downtime. And so as I've gotten older, I have realized that I really need to reel that in and decide, what things do I love to do? What people do I love spending time with? What organizations do I want to volunteer for and spend my time doing so? And which ones might I be able to do maybe a small sponsorship and write them a check instead? So I've gotten a lot better at differentiating what opportunities I'm going to jump at and say yes at, and which ones I'm going to politely say no to. When I started with this journey, it was funny. As I started purposely deciding to say no when I'd always said yes. And if you raise your hand to help, especially if you're in professional organizations, something like the chamber or the JCs, or anything where there's committees and different events and different things going on, if they know that you're a hand raiser and that you're going to get it done, you're not going to let them down, you're going to show up, you're going to do the work, and they can count on you, then when things come up, you just keep getting asked. And that's awesome when you're young and you've got tons of energy and tons of time and things like that. But as your life progresses, sometimes you find that those requests of help just keep coming and coming and coming, and they are coming from all different angles. So anyway, when I first decided that I was going to be intentional about, am I saying yes to this because I feel like I can't say no? Am I saying yes to this because I'm super excited about it? But when I first started saying no, my responses were like 5 paragraphs. I think if I went back today and looked at the first time I tried to say no to something, you would have thought I was just explaining away 14 reasons why I couldn't do this, in hopes that you wouldn't feel as if I was letting you down, and you wouldn't be mad at me, you wouldn't be angry at me. And it was ridiculous. So through the years, I've whittled down those 5 paragraphs of, I have so much going on with my kids, and then I've got this new project at the practice, and then this is going on, and my dad's coming to town, right? Forget all of that. If you decide that you don't want to do something, all you have to say is, thank you so much for the opportunity. At this time, I'm unable to do that, but I wish you the best. And sometimes I try to offer something positive. I run a mom's group called the Branch Moms Community. So for some people, I can say, I'm so sorry, I'm unable to come to your event. I'm happy to post on our page for you, or something like that. I try to always offer something kind of fun. Or, hey, we're having this networking event. Love to have you show up, and I'll give you a minute to talk about it if you'd like. But I no longer feel the need for this super long, lengthy explanation. Another thing that I want to talk about that fits in the same category, which is also really hard to do, is setting boundaries. And this topic is so much bigger than the probably 4 or 5 minutes I have left on this course. But I have been in relationships that I have needed to get out of much sooner than I decided to get out of them. Whether it's a friendship, a marriage, a business partnership, whatever that relationship is, in my opinion, if you are not in a mutually caring, respectful, loving relationship, even if it's someone that you're related to, it can be time to reset those boundaries and to share with that person what those boundaries are. And unfortunately, if you have someone on the other side of that and you are trying to respectfully share boundaries and you're explaining what they are and why they are what they are, and that person refuses to take that in and refuses to be respectful of those boundaries, I don't believe that to be a healthy relationship. And I have had numerous people in my life that have made really difficult decisions to remove someone from their life. Some of those people have had to do that with their mother or with their dad or a sister or a cousin, or again, a business partner or someone that was a key person in their lives. But if the majority of the time spent with that person is in dysfunction, is not healthy, is causing you stress, is causing tension, is putting out negative energy, you don't feel good being with them. You don't feel respected, loved, cherished. You deserve to be respected, loved, and cherished by the people that are in your lives. And if you have people in your lives that don't do that for you, why are they in your lives? And that's, like I said, that is a tough, tough, tough conversation. And it's a tough thing to manage. And I don't pretend to be able to share with you in a few minutes how I've done that in different parts of my life. And some of those things that have happened in my life where I've had a break in relationship for one reason or another are still something that brings me pain if I really think about it. But I know in many of the cases that I set those appropriate boundaries. If the boundaries just kept being broken, at the end of the day, this was not a relationship I was supposed to be in. And it would be better for me to move on and fill my life with people that I love and I am loved in return, that I want to build up and be a cheerleader for them. And I have that in return. That I understand that they can't be there for me all the time, and they understand that I might not be able to be there for them all the time. My best friend Emily, there's sometimes that months will go by that we don't talk to each other. Never in a million years are we mad or are you too busy for me? You didn't call me. There's no guilt trip. It's just, we're just so thankful to either see each other or talk on the phone. You can fill your lives with the most amazing people and the most amazing experiences if you can learn how to say no when you don't really want to do something or set boundaries. If you can learn how to get good at those two things, you can carve out the life of your dreams. I believe that with all of my heart. It takes a strong person and it takes confidence and it takes self-love. You have to love yourself enough to know that you don't need to overextend yourself, that you need to make time for self-care, and that you deserve to be in healthy, fully functioning relationships that add value to your life and you add value to theirs. Positive energy. Being responsible for the energy you put out in the world is all up to you. And I believe that we can create such different lives depending on what type of energy we put out. We all have people in our lives. If you close your eyes right now, think about your top 2 funniest, happiest, outgoing friends. They don't have to be super outgoing all the time, but people that you spend time with, that you leave and your soul is filled, your energy is filled, you're laughing and joking, and you just leave feeling awesome. Now, think about 2 people in your life that when you're with them, you feel like your energy is depleted. You feel as if you're a little down. You feel as if your energy's kind of been taken away from you. The differences in those 2 experiences, I believe, when you're on the other end of it, you're the one putting it out there, you can choose what you are putting out there every single day. I understand that there are some issues that people struggle with, mental illness and things like that. So I'm going to take some of those more serious issues off the table. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't pretend that everyone can just smile away something really serious. So if we're going to put that over on a shelf, because that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about regular people that live their lives in a certain way. And some of them choose happy, they choose joy, they choose gratitude, they choose positivity, they choose to put that stuff out into their entire world, any space they walk into. They walk in with their head held high, they walk in with a smile, they walk in with a positive attitude, and you feel it when someone like that walks in a space. You feel happier, you feel lifted up. And when you put that type of energy out into the world, I believe you're met with more positive energy, which feeds you more and feeds them more. And it's this big cycle that just grows and grows and grows. On the other hand, if you've in kind of a down mood, you're, a little bit of a Debbie Downer, always talking about problems, always talking about what's going wrong in your life, then you're putting out a different vibe. You're putting out different energy. Your head's held a little low. You're a little more frustrated. You're a little angrier. You're a little more looking for problems. When you are in that mode with people in your life, you're going to get back that same type of energy from them. And that, I think, creates kind of a snowball effect in the opposite direction. I truly believe in the law of attraction, in the law that like attracts like. The more you think about things, the more you focus on things, whether they're good or bad, you're going to get that showing up in your life. It has been proven to me time and time again. And there are some parts of my life that I'm better at this than others. I can walk into my practice and I feel so happy and confident there. I'm good at what I do. I'm a great chiropractor. Our practice really means a lot to a lot of people. And one of the greatest compliments that we get is when people walk in, we haven't even adjusted them, done their massage, done therapies, done physical therapy, doesn't even matter. And they look at us and say, I feel better just walking into this space. The energy in here already makes me feel better. That is self-created. We have created that with our team. And we know that we are able to put out those happy energy vibes that people feed off of and feel better off of just from being in our space. You've also walked into businesses where employees are yelling and things are going, wrong, or the server is not nice to you. They seem annoyed by you. What a different energy to put out there, and again, a different outcome from the people for the people around you. I believe it was Oprah that used to talk on her show about you are in control of the energy you bring to a room. And I ask my employees, and I surround myself with friends that bring their highest level energy to our conversations, to our team meetings, to our patients. And because of that, I'm surrounded with people that live kind of on a higher level of energy vibration. And you can feel it when you're with them, and it makes people happy. I have gone through slumps in my life where I certainly have not felt happy, and I certainly have not felt joy. But I knew that if I dug in any day and decided I was just going to make today a better day, I was just going to get up out of bed and go for that walk. I was just going to, maybe I don't feel all that great, but I'm not super sick. I just kind of feel kind of tired. You know what? I'm going to dust myself off. I'm going to go jump in a hot shower. I'm going to put on an outfit I like, and I'm going to head out and I'm going to try to push past it. You have that opportunity to do that. You have control over the energy you put out. And I would ask you to kind of check yourself. What energy am I sharing with others? Right? Are you in the grocery store? Are you the type of person that's going to get into a random conversation with a stranger? I love that. I love getting in conversations with people I don't know. And many times in a very short period of time, we're laughing and joking. And I think we all just leave the table. We all just leave the experience feeling better, feeling joy. And so I'm always the first one to compliment someone or congratulate someone, send someone a little message that I'm thinking of them, send flowers if necessary. If someone's had something happen in their lives, be the first one to show up and show that you care. It's the little things in our daily living and the little parts of interacting with other human beings that make up who you are as a person and the feel that people get when you're in a room together. And I appreciate that I've had to work really hard to become Cathy Subber, the person I am today. I've had to trudge through a lot of muck and a lot of mud and a lot of crap to become the human being I am today. And I've learned a lot of really powerful lessons. I've had to learn some humility. I've had to not be stubborn. I've had to be open to learning what other people can share. And I try to be in full intentional control of the positivity that I bring to the people around me, whether it's through a podcast, whether it's giving a presentation, or even if it's just sitting next to someone at the airport having a funny conversation. I hope you've enjoyed some of the things that I've shared in these 4 courses. Again, I've loved being connected to Jill since we both are in the mom space. Mine's not all about business, but if you're looking to connect with me, my practice name is Advanced Health of Naperville. The Branch Moms community is a large community of local moms in the western suburbs. Our website is www.thebranchmoms.com. And then Socket Plug Into You is my most recent initiative. I launched on my birthday last year, August 6th. And it is a website and a podcast. And the goal is to help women plug into a life of gratitude, happiness, and confidence and unplug from people and things that no longer serve you. Obviously, I've included some of the things that I talk about in the courses that I've shared with Jill and with the founding moms, but I have about 60 podcasts right now that are launched on our website, or if you listen to Spotify or Apple, you can find us at Socket Plug Into You. Jill, thank you so much for this opportunity. And if anyone would like to reach me, they can reach me through email at Cathy@simplysocket.com.